Well, hey, good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. All right. My name is Bill Florin, and I am a resume writer, career coach, really work with people to help them develop strategies to go out and market themselves effectively. And your resume really is, very simply, your opportunity to showcase the results that you've gotten, no matter the venue. Work, school, clubs, activities, volunteer. You need to make yourself stand out. The way that you do that is by telling stories about what you've done in the past. Why? Because unlike mutual funds, and they always tell you, right, in investments, past performance does not indicate future results. Well, that's true. But with people, guess what? People tend, if you are in the top of your class in high school, chances are probably pretty good that you're going to do well in college. And if you've gotten results on the football field, right, chances are you've got some leadership skills, you've got some competitiveness inside of you, you've got a desire to really excel. You really need to think about the things that you can talk about that set you apart from the competition. Very unlikely that you're going to go past a single page. Right? If you're younger, just graduating college, single page should do it. If it's longer than that, there's probably some things in there that could be edited out, maybe some fluff. Recruiters tend to roll their eyes a little bit when they see a college student resume that's more than a single page. Okay? That's just the reality. And this is important to understand too. Pardon me. Recruiters spend about 7 to 10 seconds doing an initial screen on a resume. And what they look at the top, the summary, they look at your most recent work experience, and then they go to the bottom and they look at the education. And everything in between is kind of not really even looked at. And that's validated by eye motion studies. They use computers to track how eyeballs move when they look at resumes. So it's really important that you start off strong. The top of your resume, the first half of the first page, and then of course your education section. And that might be flipped around if you're just graduating. Like when you graduate, you might want to lead with your education. Start with that because that's your most marketable feature at that point. Here's the thinking on this. Is that you have all the time in the world to create your resume. Nobody, other than in this class, nobody's giving you a deadline as to when you have to get it done, right? So the thinking is that if you can't do your best quality work when you're totally in control of the environment, how is the quality of your work going to be when you're employed? And you're taking care of that company's customers, clients, working with other employees, doing reports, doing whatever it is that they're hiring you to do. Right? So that's why a single spelling mistake, literally, a single spelling mistake or the wrong word, right, there, whichever word it happens to be, the wrong word can knock you out of consideration. Because guess what? There's probably 5 or 10 other people who are applying for that same position, and guess what? They don't have mistakes on their resume. Okay? So it's really important. If you're not good with that, if you're not a strong speller, what have you, partner up with somebody. And Dr. Magas mentioned that already, right? Which is why you're working together in your groups. Get with a friend, get with a relative, get with somebody you trust who knows the English language pretty well and can help you. It's really, really important, and certainly you have resources here through the Career Services Office, right? Okay, so that's important. Formatting enhancements, don't go crazy, and this is really important too because ATS software doesn't like formatting enhancements. So you may be tempted to use text boxes and graphs and charts and things like that in your resume. Stay away from that. It just confuses ATS, and you might have some great information that doesn't even get read by the software because it's in a box somewhere as opposed to in a header or as opposed to where it should be. Don't use headers, don't use footers, don't use text boxes, just straight text, just like you see on here. Okay? Actions, not adverbs. I heard you talking about that as well. Start your statements with an action verb as much as possible and stay away from adverbs. Right? So you know what an adverb is, right? Ends in ly. Successfully did that. Effectively did the other thing. Right? Don't tell me that you effectively managed whatever. Just say that you managed. Don't say that you successfully led blah blah blah. Just say that you led. Drop those. They're extra words. You don't need them. I recently wrote a federal resume for a client who is an accountant. He's a young guy, he's in his 20s. He's been out working for about 6 or 7 years now. And one of the things that he does is that he coordinates a volunteer income tax assistance office. It's an IRS program called VITA, V-I-T-A, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. He does that, and he's been doing that for several years. He doesn't get paid for it, but he supervises people. He is managing customer service. He's helping lower income taxpayers who can't afford for income tax assistance to complete their tax returns and e-file right there. It's a great resume builder. He doesn't get a nickel for it, but it's a great resume builder, and it has absolutely helped him. Okay? We put a resume together for him, and he actually wants to work for an organization that's part of Homeland Security, and he has been invited in for an interview, and so it helps. It helps. Anything that you can do that talks about results, especially if it's relevant to the job that you're looking for, the career that you're tracking, is going to help you. In terms of relevant, you need to be relevant to the buyer. You need to be relevant to the employer. Because what they're looking to do, let's be really blunt about it, an employer is looking to hire you to solve a problem, to do something, to add more value than what they're going to pay you, right? So if they're going to pay you $50,000 a year, they're hoping to get $100,000 worth of value out of you, right? That's how it works. That's how companies make money, right? So it's really important that you understand your target market, you understand the skills, understand the accomplishments, understand the minimum requirements, as well as the wished for. You ever see those job postings that say, you must have this and we would prefer that? Okay? So you must be, let me see if I can think of an example quickly. You must have 5 years of project management experience, but we prefer somebody with a PMP certification, right? Project Management Professional Certification. That would just be maybe not a great example, but if you can tell stories that address the things that the employer is looking for in the job listing, you're going to be more successful. You've got to be very purposeful and make every word count. You've got to be relevant to your buyer. Don't include skills that you haven't used in a few years that really you may not be great at. Like, typically I see with college students especially, every resume says Microsoft Office, right? They're really great at Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and whatever else. And then when we really dig into it, it's like, well, okay, the person used Word to write papers, and that's pretty much it, and isn't necessarily proficient in those other things. I would just make sure that if you're going to include a skill, that you're able to demonstrate it, certainly more recently than more than a few years ago. Okay. Let's get into results, and we've talked about this. I've hit on some of these things already. Accomplishments, recognition, are they verifiable? Meaning, can you point somebody to some evidence that shows that? Because that will help you be more credible. And this is really, with recommendations, this is where LinkedIn can be your best friend. Right? How many of you have LinkedIn profiles? We were talking about it a little bit earlier. So a few hands, and I guess you're going to be doing that later in the semester.
They will by the end of the semester.
Cool. I would really encourage you to dig into LinkedIn and understand what it can do for you, because it's not just an online resume, it's so much more than that. But one of the really cool features of LinkedIn now is that you can link to all kinds of different, basically your entire online presence, your professional online presence, can be linked to from your LinkedIn profile. So if you've written a paper that's been published and it's living online, you've been recognized for some achievement that's got some online presence out there, you've done a project that you want to upload to your LinkedIn profile. There have been a lot of changes made for just very recently, like in the last couple of months with LinkedIn, that will allow you to not just tell a story, but also show what you've done by giving people links to the different work that you've completed, the recognition that you've gotten. It might be a news story, like I said. It could be something that was on television. It might be a YouTube video that shows you doing something great. Okay? You might say that you're a skilled public speaker, and there's a YouTube video of you doing a presentation, standing up and talking to a group. That would certainly be valid and would certainly help you make your case that you've got good, strong communication skills. Because everybody says that too, right? Because they don't know what else to put, so they put strong written and verbal communication skills. You know, set yourself apart by showing an example of that. Okay, all right. So the interviewing piece, a lot of this is common sense, and you've heard this before. I'm going to share just a couple of things with you, and one that's not on here, and we've kind of hit it, is that when you get to the interview is not the place to figure out how you're going to tell your stories. Right? It's not the place to go and find out about the company. Right? Especially in a campus environment. I've done on-campus recruiting at Fairfield University, Sacred Heart University, other schools for Target. And Target hires a lot of college students right out of school. Right? They get hired as what they call executive team leaders, assistant store managers is what they are. Pretty good pay. They, 50, 60, 70, depending on the market to start. But I can't tell you the number of people who would show up for on-campus interview days and have absolutely no idea what the company does, other than, okay, it's a big store that sells stuff, right? Had done absolutely no research about the company. Couldn't talk the language, couldn't demonstrate that they had done any research or had any interest whatsoever. And quite honestly, they weren't good at telling their stories. So just like Dr. Magas told you that she was ready to go with her stories on those phone screens, right? Those are the kinds of things that you need to do. Because here's the deal about communications and when you're selling yourself. Okay? Only about 10% of what of the message is the actual words that you're using in the story that you're telling. The vast majority of your effectiveness as a communicator, the vast majority of your effectiveness in selling yourself is in the nonverbals, the tone of voice, the way that you present yourself, your confidence, your ability to establish rapport with the interviewer. Avoid the temptation to present yourself way too early. Anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes is acceptable. Anything more than that is kind of weird, right? So when you go, if you have to sit in your car and play with your iPhone or do whatever it is that you need to do to occupy yourself, overcome that temptation, resist the urge to go and present yourself early, because it's just going to, like, they might think, well, gee, maybe he or she didn't understand the time of the appointment, or you might wind up stressing out the person who's going to be interviewing you. I've been on that side of the equation where it's like, oh man, Joe is here already? What does he not understand? The appointment was for 10 o'clock. Why is he here at 9:40? Right? Because then you're kind of stressed and you're thinking the interview. You don't want the interviewer to not like you because you're applying additional stress. So a few minutes early, but not too early. Be courteous. The receptionist talks. This is really simple. Be courteous to everybody. All right? It's really important that when you go and you present yourself, you want to do it in a professional way. Hi, good morning. My name is Bill Florin, and I have a 10 o'clock appointment with Joe Blow in accounting. Right? And typically what will happen is the receptionist behind the counter will say, well, that's terrific. Yes, you do. We have you on here, and he'll be with you shortly. Very good. Thank you very much. And you'll probably be invited to sit. Very professional, very simple. Just present yourself, your name, who you're meeting with. Cover letters are really designed to do something that your resume may not necessarily do very well. And that's to explain to the recruiter why you want the job, why you, above everyone else, should be considered. And if you have any potential obstacles or roadblocks in your resume, to explain those. Like, there might be some issue that just doesn't make sense. Let's say you've decided that when you graduate here at Southern, rather than hanging out in New Haven, you're going to move to Tampa, Florida, right? That might be something that you include in your cover letter, is that you are planning a relocation to the Tampa, Florida market upon graduation, right? So your resume is more of a history. It's more of a document that explains what you can do and some examples of you doing them. Your cover letter is designed to really help sell you, to explain to the recruiter, to explain to the hiring manager why you're the best person for the job, why you want that job, and again, to address any potential gaps. All right, so I get this question all the time, do I really need a cover letter? Yes, you do. If the job application system that you're logging into allows you to upload a cover letter along with the resume, you absolutely want to do it. And let me ask you a question to help illustrate. Let's just say that you went into these different systems, Brass Ring, Talio, whatever the different applicant tracking systems are, and you applied and you sent your resume to all these different jobs, but never sent a cover letter along with it, and you never got a call. Is it possible that you might be thinking to yourself, well, gee, maybe I should have sent those cover letters too? chances are that thought will cross your mind at some point. Like, maybe the reason why I didn't get the call was because I didn't include a cover letter. Cover letters are as important as your resume when it comes time to market yourself and apply for specific positions, because again, you need to sell yourself in writing, sell yourself to that recruiter, to that hiring manager, as to why you should be considered for that position. Complement the information that's in your resume, don't repeat it. Your cover letter is not like a regurgitation of your resume. If your resume says that you're really good at all these different things, you don't want to say the same things in your cover letter. You want to have your cover letter talk more about the company that you're applying to, the requirements and qualifications and the jobs posting that you're looking at. You might want to use some of the language like we talked about, associates, employees, partners, what have you. Use some of that language and explain to the person who's reading that you're excited about it, you saw the position, these are the reasons why you're such a perfect fit, and please call me for an interview. Thank you very much. In a nutshell, that's what your cover letter is.